What's up, community? It's me again, Dual Killing Anime, coming at you with another video. And today's topic, like you can see above, is discussing about Fairy Tail, the anime series. I'm not gonna just talk about the anime, just the series as a whole. Fairy Tail, the series, the manga, the anime, the omaki, the whatever the fuck the clusterfuck that is Fairy Tail. Okay, and I'm not gonna take that word back. I mean clusterfuck. It's just, and excuse my profanity if you guys are near someone right now and you can't use bad language, or if you guys don't prefer that in your videos, I'll try to refrain from that. But this is gonna be it's gonna sound like a hate video or a rant video, but I'm gonna try to make it not be. And it's gonna be about Fairy Tail and why I'm dropping the series. Ah, man. I've thought about it for a minute why I was dropping the series, and I think I have valid points that I want to share with you guys. Basically, I've been reading Fairy Tail for the past 2 months. I've been catching up on it, and I've caught myself up to chapter 311 by this date. Of course, it'll be plus as I keep going on, because this is an ongoing manga and series. But as I'm reading this thing, or as I have been reading this thing, I've noticed that there's less and less interest and excitement for me getting from this series as I continue the story. And I really just withered away from the story towards the end of the Tenryu Island arc. And it hasn't picked up. The interest hasn't picked back up for me ever since the story. And I'm going to dissect each and every reason why I'm dropping this series. As you know, I'm dropping this series close to the beginning of the Grand Magic Games, and why it's going to be a very long time until I pick it back up again. Fairy Tail is a series that's based off of a main protagonist, the main male protagonist, Natsu Dragneel, who is a stereotypical shonen teen male character, or teen male main protagonist, in which he's a dumbass. I believe I made a video about this earlier, about anime types, dumbass main protagonist, and I used Natsu Dragneel as one of those. I define Natsu Dragneel as a dumbass because throughout the constant 300 plus chapters that this story has been going on, this guy gets no development. Absolutely none. And it gets me because from chapter 1 all the way to chapter 311, he does the same exact shit that you'd expect for him to do on the beginning of the story. And it messes me up because the story gets dull when I see Natsu Dragneel doing the same formula. And you guys know the same formula if you follow the Fairy Tail series. Natsu, he faces a big bad opponent, the antagonist at the time. He gets his ass whooped. He finds some way to come back, probably gets his ass whooped some more, and then he has a power-up, and then he kicks the villain's ass. And then everybody's saved. And that happens throughout every fight Natsu Dragneel is in. So, my vision on the main protagonist is that he's a dumbass who always goes headstrong into a fight. He's not interesting because, one, I hardly know anything about his backstory, and he hasn't had any character development to support his backstory. And this can be supported by how every other main character up to this point has some sort of backstory and type of character development rather than him. You can see Lucy Heartophilia, she has the backstory of her rich family and her father, and you know, the death of her mother, and when she writes her letters, and the character development of her coming to terms with her father's death, and you know, at least coming to terms with herself and growing as an individual. Her little arc with Locky. And then you have Grey Fullbuster. We had the Galuna Island arc where we were introduced to who he was as a kid and his master as Ur, and how he developed with Ultier. And I forgot the other dude. You know, not many characters are memorable in here, but I forgot the other dude with the white hair. The other apprentice guy, I'm sure you guys know. No, he's not Gray, but I'm sure you guys know. And Urza Scarlet with her Tower of Heaven slavery arc, where she was a child slave who works to build the Tower of Heaven for the ruler Zareth. These type of guys get their type of at least backstory and initial character development. But Natsu Dragonil just stays the same fucking dude from the whole series. And the main protagonist, who does the same fucking thing, who gets the most spotlight and attention, really takes away from the story, and everything that I like becomes secondary. Everything that I like just becomes secondary. When I see Urza in specific battles and when she's dealt bullshit so Natsu can be the main guy who comes in and saves the day. Ta-ta-da! Fairy Tail! Yeah, come on guys. No! It's bullshit! Urza, literally, every arc Urza's in, she literally gets hurt and unable to fight, or somewhere a plot hole in which she's unable to fight, in which the others have to come in and save the day, or she'd be out of the range of the big fight and she'd save the day. It was the same in the Galuna Island arc. Why couldn't she be there when Delior was about to be summoned, or during the main actions? Well, I can understand through that flowing of the story. What about the Fighting Festival arc, when Urza was an S-Class mage herself and she could have been going head to head with Loxus, but she entrusted it with Natsu for some strange reason? It could have also been the Tower of Heaven arc, where she herself could have dealt a great battle to Jalal at the time, but it was Natsu who had this strange thing with the Aetherian rock, and they were fighting, which I don't understand. So I'm thinking, through this main protagonist, who's one-dimensional, who does these things I don't understand, who gets this much spotlight, I don't give a fuck about. And that's a problem that I have with this series, that with the main protagonist of the story, who's driving the story, who's making it interesting, I don't give a fuck about him. Which means I don't give a fuck about half the things that happen, because half the things that happen are driven because of the main protagonist who's doing these actions. The final fights are less interesting to me, and I get less euphoria each and every time because I know it's gonna end the same way. And you guys can't give me a single or a small hint. You guys give me one or two examples, because I haven't completely finished this thing because I've decided to drop. That's my first gripe about it. The main protagonist, Natsu Dragonil. Alright? But there's plenty of more to rant about the series. I'd say that the series, on a second account, has this thing to where everyone in Fairy Tail is just so for the guild, and it's all for the guild, and fairy tale, and we're right, and we're friendship no matter what, and this Nakama way. That just pisses me off. And I'm not saying it just pisses me off because I think it's cliche or it's not a good concept to show in shonen. It pisses me off because that shit's not realistic. Well, one of the main reasons and one of the things that got me fed up with this type of friendship and for the fairy tale thing was the Tenryu Island arc. Can you guys remember when Zera finally summoned Agnolia, the dark dragon, and then when it finally attacked the entire Fairy Tail, or the main Fairy Tail group guild, and Master Makarov tried to defend the Fairy Tail mages against Agnolia at the time, but then all the Fairy Tail mages came back? Well, at the end of that, they had some type of thing where they were all holding hands and having their magical powers join together so they could create this magical defense that could protect them. And then this bullshit comes because of the power and the magic in their friendship. Mavis, the first Fairy Tail master, had this magic spell with a seal, which was one of the 3 great magics of Fairy Tail, and they were saved in a sphere that was frozen in time for 7 years. One, plot hole. Why is there a time skip of 7 years? What is with this 7-7 thing? It's never explained. And I know what you're gonna say, the series hasn't ended, you should wait. But I don't care if it's explained the next chapter, 10 chapters later, 100 chapters later. It'll still be too fucking late. It'll still be too fucking late. That's right. And 2, is that why is the explanation covering of nakama and friendship? Why couldn't Hiro Mashima, and I'm not criticizing, you know, I'm not saying he's a bad writer, but couldn't Hiro Mashima come up with a more practical way of saying that the magic, maybe Mavis's spirit came up, but you had to say Mavis's spirit came up because of the power of the magic and the friendship with them? Derpity derp 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 derpity derp and derp. That's basically how I interpreted it. Derpity derp 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 dip. Derpity derp. Seriously, that's how I get it. The logic that works here with this friendship thing just really auto-tunes me out of what's happening. Some bullshit that happened in the Tenryu Island arc. One notably was when Urza was fighting Azuma, and Urza was taking devastating blows by Azuma's attacks. And I remember he had that plant life, and Azuma, being the badass that he was in that arc that I liked him, he was fighting Urza and he was zapping away the magic of every fairy tale wizard because he joined his magical energy with the magical energy of Tenryu Island. So apparently Azuma wants to fight Urza, so he leaves his magic alone. That's fine. That's not too much of a gripe that I have about it. It's the fact that Urza gets knocked down so much, and the resounding thing that gets her to beat this guy, rather than using intelligence or logic or some type of strategy or gaining power through someone else or ganging up on him 2-on-1 or getting advice or help or something or power from another, she gets power from the power of her friendship with the Fairy Tail Guild, and everyone who's basically being supported by this island thing it gets magical energy. So she has to reserve magical energy to come up and give a final shot to Azuma, and he dies. What? Nah, man. I'm tired of that fairy tale shit. Strike 2. Fairy tale. Stop relying on friendship. Alright. Point 3. Speeches, man. The dialogue. This could be more of a personal gripe, but for me, too much dialogue in a series at wrong times in a battle manga. Once I say in a battle manga, note that it takes away from, you know, the excitement that you get from the story, or whether it should be in the right place or not. It seems like almost everyone in this series has some type of speech that they have to give. Whether Natsu gives his gives on "I'll never give up" and "I'll always be the best," or, you know, or something retarded, real bullshit that I hate, like fear doesn't mean you're weak. You know, fear only means that you're recognizing your weakness and you can become stronger by it. But the thing that gets me about it is you don't recognize you're strong by it just by stating the. Okay, I'm digressing. Okay, I'll mention that later. I'm sure you guys would just know the road I'm headed to, but I'll mention that later. Dialogue. Lucy has overwritten dialogue in the Loki arc. They're just giving like 10. It takes 10 minutes for Lucy to use all of her magical energy to be able to save Loki, and through all that, she's giving out this long dialogue about how things shouldn't be, what her take upon it is, and it just takes away from the story, and it's dragging out the series and the episode. And this is an anime reference. I don't know how it is in the manga, but it just draws out. And, you know, Urza has her speeches, and Gray has her speeches, and everyone else pretty much has their little friendship fairy tale speech, which is why I really can't get behind this guild, dude. It's not a lame story. It's just that it looks like you're trying too hard to make it a good to great story for a battle manga and for a shonen like this, because it's disappointing, because this show really has good qualities about it. It has a great theme with wizards and magic and mages. You know, it flows into the ones with pirates and ninjas and soul reapers. I get that. It's a general concept of the universe, of the Earthland and fairy tale. But what I'm saying is that you try too hard to make it as like this fantasy world with everything, with all this dialogue, and you know, with all these people just self-righteous and so much dedication to the guild. There's no like, there's just one dimension to this story, which I think, and the one dimension in my theory goes up like this, and it goes up like a ladder, or you know, like a triangle, which everyone stacks. There's 4 things. There's the beginning of an arc, when the guild's back to normal, then an enemy comes and it's introduced to what happens, and the guild eventually has this quest to go on, or members of the guild have a quest to go on, and then they go on the quest with 9 times out of 10 Natsu, Dragneel, Lucy Heartophilia, Grateful Buster, and Urza Scarlet. And they figure out what happens, and then there's this evil antagonist, and he's plotting something evil, whether it be invading the fairy tale themselves or causing havoc elsewhere. Next, you know, the protagonist of this story and the antagonist of this story, forces collide, and basically they give them a run for their money. The antagonists give them a run for their money. They have everything beside them. Plans are going as normal. And then the final one is when, miraculously, from some way, somehow, by a power-up, the Fairy Tale Guild, or members of Fairy Tale, or Natsu, or Yusei will have some epic type of speech, and then they'll say stuff, and then they'll get the power up, and then they'll beat the bad guy from who knows where. And dude, it's so predictable now. It's not even funny. The only reason why I'd be remotely interested in Fairy Tail now is if they say Natsu Dragneel has lost a fight, or if Natsu Dragneel has learned what true fear is, because I still don't think he learned what guild arts meant by true fear and acknowledging your fear and becoming stronger from fear. He has some type of warped sense of fear, and you could see that when he was facing Zancro and when Makarov was telling him to run away while Natsu was shaking, but then he said some dumb shit, like he said the dumbest shit I ever heard. He was like, "Oh no, I'm scared, alright, but I'm scared so much because I think I won't be the one to whoop Master Hades' ass for doing this to my master." And I was like, what the fuck? How much sense does that make? Because the build-up for this was supposed to be that Natsu was actually going to get some type of character development. But no, he's just the same fucking guy who goes headstrong. He wants to fight for Fairy Tail. He knows he may be weaker than the enemy, but he still fights, doesn't come up with strategies, uses his fist to handle the problem, and there's no other dynamic to the story. So the moral of the story, boys and girls, and I know I didn't go too in-depth as I wanted to in this, but it's about ranging to 18 minutes, is that I'm dropping Fairy Tail. I'm dropping the anime and the manga. Alright, so give you guys comments about what you guys think below. Give a video response to why you agree with me or disagree with me on this topic, and I agree what you say. Like or dislike this video, I don't care, you're just getting my name out there anyway. Remember, it's been Dual Killing Anime, all the content with none of the filler. Peace.